Welcome back to the channel, Upcyclers. We have another graded card revealed for today. This is another example of my ongoing quest to try to understand and master how grading works at PSA, and I'm sure it's a fool's errand, but I'm going for it anyway. So if you watched a previous video, I had a huge success with a 2016 Chrome Auto Refractor Tatis card. Here, I'll show it to you real quick. I just happen to have it handy. That was a BGS 9. I cracked it and sent it in, and I got a 10. I also had a couple that I sent in HGA gem slabs. This was one of them. The other one I don't have handy on within reach, but this was an HGA gem, and it came back a 10. The reason I sent that in the HGA slab versus cracking it is because I was having so much trouble cracking the slab. I eventually said, you know what? I'll pay them the extra, whatever, $15, $20 so they can figure out how to crack it before I destroy the card, my desk, or stab myself and bleed to death here in my office. In any event, that was successful. We all know that, it's a bit of a slot pull. It's a bit of a dark art, what goes on over there. And, there is, of course, human error. There are different guidelines from company to company as they train their employees. And so you're going to get a little bit of inconsistency in the grading. Now, if you go back a number of videos, I had one where I had some really wacky stuff happen with some old Marvel cards. I had one card come back a 5 and another card come back a 6. I cracked them and resent them in. The 6 turned into an 8 and the 5 turned into a 9. Now, when you're talking about 4 grades, particularly within the same company, that probably shouldn't happen. Probably an error was made somewhere in there. But I digress. Let's talk about these Jeter cards. So, we know that there is a huge premium that's being paid to PSA cards. Why? They just are. So I have been attempting to find good deals on cards graded in other companies' slabs and trying to cross them over to PSA. And I'm trying to figure out, the better cards to do that with. Is it better to send it in the holder and cross it over? If you do that, is it better to put it with a certain min grade or just let them do whatever? Because in the past, I've sent some in and I've said, it's been like a BGS 9.5, a true gem. And I'll say, I just want a 10. They'll send it back to me in the BGS slab and take my money and do nothing. So in other cases, like with that pink Tatis I showed a minute ago, I sent it in the slab and said, give it whatever you think is fair, just whatever. I didn't put a min grade on it, and they give it a 10. So I've been trying different combinations of things, trying to get a feel for it. And because we all know with grading, we're really talking about a bunch of small losses and a bunch of break evens and some work for those cards that hit, like the Tatis, for example. I'm into that for like $800 all in, and it's probably worth $2,500, maybe $3,000 to the right person. So, now, have I sold it? No. Am I going to sell it? I don't know, maybe. But what's important is the idea that you can create value that way. Now, going from a 9 to a 10 obviously is going to create more value, regardless of what grading company we're talking about. But simply the ability to cross something over, like this Jeter here, the 93 SP foil, is a perfect example. Now, at the time of recording, at the time that I bought it, a BGS 9 was going for about 600, 500, somewhere in that neighborhood, whereas a PSA 9 was going for 1,000 to 1,200. So even if it's straight crossed over, you were almost doubling your money. More than enough room in there to pay for the grading fees. Now, if it happened to get a 10, like what happened with the Tatis, you're talking about, I'm sorry, that was this card. My apologies. Strike that last bit. This in a 9 was close to $3,000. And in a 10, which I wasn't expecting it had any chance of getting, but hypothetically, that's a six-figure card. That's a very rare card. So I figured it was pretty safe. If this came back a 9, I'm quadrupling my money. Even if it came back an 8, I'm still breaking even to maybe losing a couple of bucks. And on the off wild chance it gets a 10, I don't have to record YouTube videos or probably have a job anymore. But I wasn't really expecting that to happen. So without further ado, the 9 with a 9.5 centering grade, a 9 edges, a 9 surface, and an 8.5 corners, which averaged out is, I would consider, a true 9. The 4 grades average exactly to a 9. Crossed over to a 6. Thank you, PSA. Thank you for knocking me down to a 6. Why is it a 6? I haven't got the faintest idea. I don't see an issue with it. I couldn't tell you. I can tell you that my plan is to crack it out and resend it. Am I going to resend it to PSA? Am I going to resend it to SGC, BGS? I honestly don't know. But I definitely want to crack this out, have a closer look at it, and see if I can figure out why they gave it a 6. Usually if a card looks good and it gets a 6 from PSA, there is some damage on it somewhere, right? There's a little crease. There's a mark, a stain, something. It's not just, a little bit of corner wear. Like when, this did get an 8.5 corners. And if you look really closely, you can see there's just the teeniest bit of white on a couple of these corners, but you have to look really close to see it. I mean, the surface looks good. The centering is great. The back is clean. The upper deck hologram is complete. I mean, everything looks really good on that. So that is incredibly disappointing, and that is a pretty fat L we're taking on that one. But like I said, I'm not done yet. I will probably spin the slot machine 1 or 2 more times until it comes back with something more pleasing. Because the thing is, think about this card. There is a correct grade for it, right? It's not changing, right? It's not magical or subjective. So was it overgraded at a 9? Is it undergraded at a 6? Is the 9 right? The 6 is wrong. Is the 6 right and the 9 wrong? Is the true somewhere in the middle? Should it be a 5? Should it be a 10? Like, what would happen if I kept sending this card in over and over again to a grading company? Like, what would I just get a different grade every time? I don't know. So we attempted the same thing over here. So the numbers I was giving you earlier were actually for this card. This was, in a 9, it's like $500-600. In a 10, it's like $1,200. I think I got this for like $600 or $700, maybe like a little more than a PSA 9, but it's an SGC 10. SGC, I find generally to be one of the harder graders of the 3 and probably the most consistent. I wish that people priced SGA slabs the same way they did PSA. I would much rather send all my stuff that I want to sell to SGC, but unfortunately, I don't get to determine the market. So I just have to kind of go along with it and try to optimize as best I can to, put as much money into my pocket to put back into this hobby and content like this for y'all. So this one was an SGC 10, and I didn't put a min grade on it. I said, do whatever you want. I was really hoping that it would get a 10, and it got a 9. So yeah, overall, this was a pretty fat L. This is probably a $500 to $700 loss across the board between these two. But like I said, I'm going to crack both these out, take a closer look at them, and figure out what the next steps are. Let me know what you think about my thought process. Let me know what you think about, the differences in grading between PSA and other companies in the market, and, experiences that you've had cracking things and sending in or crossing cards over and doing that kind of stuff. Because it is definitely a dark art that I'm trying to learn, but obviously didn't have much luck here. But of course, I will keep y'all posted in future videos, and this is probably not the last time I'm going to show these cards here on my channel. Anyway, thank you very much as always for your time. Follow me on the usual socials. If you're not subscribed to the channel, welcome. Try to put out content like this every Friday morning. I know I missed the last couple of Fridays. Unfortunately, real life got in the way of having fun, but I'm back. Hope everybody has a great day. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.